Welcome to NACTV Reads the Banner. My name is Catherine Jasnick, and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. You may be joining us online, Neepawa Access Live, WCG 12, Channel 30 Direct Sightline, MTS, or Bell Express View. These broadcasts are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, and donations by viewers like yourself. If you enjoy what you see and hear, please consider supporting us by a donation or by volunteering. Contact our office at 204-476-2639 or nactv@wcgwave.ca. And today I am reading the Neepawa banner dated April the 28th. And on the front page, we have titled 4 R's, Reading, Writing, Arithmetic, and Rotary. And the picture here shows of Ron Nordstrom with some of the grade 5 and grade 6 students at Joya Verde School. Nordstrom spent 28 days at the Guatemalan school as part of a Rotary vocational training team, helping improve the skills of the school's teachers. And this article is about that experience. He may have been over 5,000 kilometers from home, but Ron Nordstrom found a little piece of Canada nestled in a Guatemalan valley. For 28 days, Nordstrom, a retired teacher from Neepawa, had a once-in-a-lifetime experience working with students and teachers at Joya Verde School, located in a Guatemalan village. Nordstrom traveled to the Central American country as part of a Rotary Club vocational training team, VTT for short, sponsored by Rotary District 5550, which spans from Kenora to Saskatoon. The team operated under the umbrella of the Ripple Effect program in Guatemala, which is the first international world community service program ever developed in District 5550. The program aims to provide opportunity to children living in challenging environments through promoting literacy and education. Like ripples on a pond, the idea is that education improves the lives and outlook of the students, who then impact those around them, who in turn impact others in ever-widening circles. Nordstrom, who wasn't a Rotarian at the time, was approached about participating by a member of the Neepawa Club. From there, he underwent an interview process before being selected as one of the 5 teachers who, along with a team leader, traveled to the Joya Verde School. Before leaving Neepawa, Nordstrom didn't know any of the other team members. "I've never done anything like this before. What a great experience," he said. The education system in Guatemala faces a number of challenges, the largest of which is retention. Nordstrom explained that the government only funds education until grade 6. After that, families must pay out of pocket for their children to continue schooling. The financial burden is compounded by an education system that does little to interest the students. Students looking to advance to grade 7 and beyond face challenges that don't exist for most Canadian students. There are a lot of obstacles, and one of them is that there's no school in Joya Verde past grade 6. They need to get there, and it's not a walk, not even a long walk. It's a drive, explained Nordstrom. This means that the students, whose parents don't have vehicles, need to find transportation. Guatemala is a poor country. More than half of the population lives below the national poverty line, and almost a quarter of the population lives in extreme poverty. Joya Verde School, which means green jewel, is located in a valley in a very poor village. While there are some brick buildings, most of the children live in homes made of corrugated metal with a dirt floor. The community began as a squatter's village, but has grown to the point that today there are 2 churches and the school, which has about 125 students. Nordstrom saw firsthand the economic hardships faced by many Guatemalans. They were a poor community, but they welcomed us. We're so grateful we were there, he said. It was quite eye-opening. It gave me a lot of respect for those people in the corrugated metal homes, because you take a look at what they have and there's no doors and it's windy sometimes. The wind is just whipping dirt around. They're coming to school with clean clothes and you think, how do you do that? How do you keep anything clean? They do some amazing things with what they have, he added. While attending Rotary functions, the VTT members also had a chance to see how more affluent Guatemalans live. He explained that while in Canada, Rotarians are mostly middle class, in Guatemala, they tend to be wealthier community members. The work done by these Rotarians ahead of time allowed the VTT to be effective and get right to work once they arrived. Nordstrom explained that local Rotarians organized essentials like their interpreters, cell phones, transportation, and a parent meeting the first day. The government sees education as an important way forward, and Nordstrom said that the curriculum has been updated. However, there isn't enough money to train all the country's teachers, which is where initiatives such as vocational training teams come in. Teachers currently being trained are learning more active methods of teaching, but many teachers were educated under the old system and don't have these tools. The teachers at Joya Verde wanted to make school more interesting and help the students want to advance beyond grade 6. They just needed some help. Nordstrom explained that their goal was to engage the students in learning, saying, their education system is very passive. Read this, do these questions. It's the same for pretty much every subject. The school realized it wasn't the best way to teach. They wanted some ideas on how to get the kids more active and participating. Our job was to go down there and basically show them different ways to meet the same objectives, but make it more interesting. Teachers in Guatemala are trained in 2 ways. One is a 1-year program, and the other is a 4-year program. Nordstrom explained that the less well-trained teachers tend to end up in the poorer rural schools. But least qualified doesn't mean least ambitious, noted Nordstrom, because they really want to change what they're doing. They recognize they could do better. They wanted to know how. They were ambitious enough, they just didn't have the training. The school itself was built about 5 years ago with funding from the Ripple Effect, which has built many schools in poor areas of the country. The old school was on the side of a mountain. When it rained, there would be landslides and parents wouldn't send their kids to school. Ripple Effect not only builds schools, but also provides scholarships to help kids continue their schooling and teacher training. The teachers at Joya Verde asked for help, and Nordstrom explained that the school was chosen to receive help because they asked for it and were already tied to the Ripple Effect program. All eyes were on Nordstrom and his fellow team members, as this pillar of Ripple Effect isn't as well established as the other 2. A lot of people were watching us. Municipal government was watching. They wanted to know, how effective is this? Universities were watching, other Rotarian groups. Because if something like this is successful, they want to duplicate it all over the place, explained Nordstrom. The feedback was promising. They recognized the fact that their system of passive education is not as good. They saw the kind of things we're doing. They want that, he said. When they held a learning fair in the final week, the interest in the project was obvious by the large crowd. In addition to a full house of parents, there was a large media presence as well. A lot of people were keeping an eye on the project and want it to be successful, he said. The trip began with the VTT members observing the teachers and classrooms for a couple of days. School goes from 7:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., and the team members spent the afternoons in teacher training sessions or shopping for the school. They also attended a number of Rotary functions in the afternoons, evenings, and during the weekend. We were really tired, said Nordstrom, of the schedule. Each of the VTT members brought their own skills, and for Nordstrom, those were focused on technology and physical education. In Guatemala, these courses are requirements, but aren't funded by the federal government. At Joya Verde, municipal funding paid for a computer teacher, but phys ed classes were taught by regular classroom teachers. I did a lot of work with the teachers there to show what a phys ed class could look like. We got the kids doing things. The kids were very passive, even in phys ed class, and we got them much more active, said Nordstrom. For people like Nordstrom, who don't speak Spanish, the language barrier was a challenge. While he tried to learn some Spanish before going, communication was definitely a challenge, he said, noting that it was the biggest barrier to doing a more effective job. With funding from the Ripple Effect and Rotary International, they had 2 translators, but these 2 people were split among the 6 team members. Modern technology also provided some help. The other thing we had was Google Translate, which you can use offline. In this valley, in the school, you couldn't get reception, so you were not online, said Nordstrom. While not perfect, it did allow Nordstrom to communicate with teachers and students when a translator wasn't available. The students really wanted to learn English, and Nordstrom explained that they could all say good morning and were constantly asking how to say certain words in English. Nordstrom, who is a musician, brought his guitar and at recess would play. The kids all wanted to sing, he said. They wanted to learn something in English. Nordstrom decided the easiest song would be Mustang Sally, with its repetitive chorus. He wrote the lyrics on the board, phonetically in Spanish, and the kids were quick to join in. Nordstrom spent most of the time working with the 33 students in the grade 5 and 6 class. The largest class was the grade 3 and 4 class, which had 37 students. Kindergarten, grade 1, and grade 2 each had their own classes, while it was split grades for the older students. When the VTT members left Canada, their suitcases were full of school supplies. Nordstrom explained that these included a variety of everyday objects that can be used to make learning more interactive, such as bingo chips, dice, playing cards, beads, flashcards, plates to act as whiteboards, and markers. They also brought down skipping ropes, much to the children's enjoyment. They were so overjoyed. There was nothing like that in the school, he said. They also brought novels, the first ones many of the students had ever read. Nordstrom explained that the students were used to reading a page or 2 in a workbook and then answering questions. The VTT brought 2 copies of different novels for a total of 40 books for the grade 5 and 6 students and 40 for the grade 3 and 4 students. They also introduced buddy reading, in which the older students read to the younger students. The VTT members explained the benefits of having older kids to work with younger kids. Starting the reading program was a good thing, said Nordstrom. The team's teaching focused a lot on improving interaction, and one of the ways they did this was to increase the students' presentation skills. The team brought down some technology, including phones, projectors, and the necessary connectors, which the students used to give presentations. Kids need to present. They need to talk and teach other kids, said Nordstrom. The VTT also helped leave the teachers with a lasting benefit. beyond what they learned that month. The group worked with a local university to develop a curriculum so that the school's teachers would gain extra credentials for having taken part in the program. Nordstrom explained that many of the teachers needed a second job to support themselves, but with more qualifications, they could be paid more. At the end of the 28 days, the teachers were presented with diplomas. Perhaps the most surprising aspect of the experience was the importance of Canada to the students and their school. Nordstrom explained that the school wanted a shield, so they asked the grade 5 and 6 students to design something with flags and mountains. The one that was chosen prominently features the Canadian flag, with the Guatemalan and local districts' flags in much less prominent positions. When he questioned this, Nordstrom said the teachers replied, "Canada should be the biggest thing, because this is a ripple effect school, and our school would not be here if it wasn't for Canada. It wouldn't exist. You gave us the school. You gave us supplies, desks, computers, teachers' training. Canada has to be the biggest thing." We were quite touched, he said. It was then that they also noticed the large Canadian flag permanently hanging in the office. One of the reasons why this trip was so positive for me is that they really appreciated that we were there, said Nordstrom. For Nordstrom, what stood out the most was the universality of the human experience. I think people are the same everywhere in the world. They want the same thing. They need the same things. The kids, they need to be cared for. They need to know that somebody cares. You expect them to be so different when you get there. The kids, they're just like Canadian kids. They just speak a different language. For anyone considering a similar experience, Nordstrom has one piece of advice. I would encourage it for sure. And there's a couple of photos here, and the top one is crests that they made with the flags on them. Looking at the center one, he had thought this one will be thrown out right away because it's mostly Canada, and he was wrong. The teachers decided on this shield in recognition of Canadians' investment in the school. And a smaller photo is showing one of the students on a cell phone. And it said Google Translate was a useful tool when an interpreter wasn't available. The very first day, trying to communicate with a grade 6 student, I'm trying to talk to him. He's trying to talk to me. Finally, I just pulled out my phone, asked the questions, and he understood the translated version and started to answer. At recess, we went back and forth like that, and I did quite a bit of the translation with the students. I tried to speak to them. They would look at me kind of funny, and then I'd show them in Google Translate, and they'd get it. What an awesome experience that would be, and it's so nice that he wrote it up for everybody here to get a better idea of what the Rotary does and what good feeling you can get out of helping other people. And Neepawa Gladstone Co-op marks 88 years with a good year. Neepawa Gladstone Co-op Board Chairman Ray Kobaki said, 88 years in business is quite a feat. I hope you're as proud of it as we are, as he opened the annual general meeting on April the 20th. On the local level, 2016 was a good year for us. Sales reached $74.2 million, which was down from last year's $76 million due to deflation in fuel prices. Local saving was up at $1.2 million, and our net savings after patronage was up to $3.7 million from $3.3 million last year. Kobaki noted that the Federated Co-op Community Spaces supports local initiatives relating to recreation, environmental conservation, and urban agriculture. They also launched a new plant paint donation program, Co-op Communities in Full Color, this year. Neepawa Gladstone Co-op was a part of that program, and the Neepawa Yellowhead Center benefited from this program with new paint on the bleachers. The Co-op and FCL also came together and raised over $800,000 to support those affected by the fire in Fort McMurray, Alberta. Kilbackie said, "Our current agro department is located in town and on 2 acres of property. The addition of Eagle Agro to our Neepawa Agro department has been a huge success story for us, but it has also added some complications. By doubling the size of our custom application department, we no longer have room for all the applicators and support vehicles. Also, with the addition of former Eagle Agro staff, we do not have room at the Agro office for everyone. In previous years, we have added pup trailers to our fuel trucks, and this year we are adding pup trailers to our NH3 trucks, as well as our third NH3 semi-trailer unit. These trucks are having difficulty maneuvering around the agro property. And finally, to compound the problem, we are in need of a new location for bin building and our ag equipment department. We have studied the situation for 2 years and are in the final stages of purchasing 12 acres of land. Once finalized, this property will give us the opportunity to expand and grow our agricultural business over the next number of years. When this purchase is completed, we will present our plan to the public and our customers, which we hope to be able to do in the next few months. The local co-op is also looking to provide more car wash bays to meet the demand. In 2016, there were 356 new memberships purchased, which was down from 392 last year. General Manager Brian Headley gave a detailed report. He stated, Neepawa Gladstone Co-op depends heavily on the agricultural sector for the success of our operations, and we are therefore dependent on the weather conditions. This was one of the more stressful seasons we have seen for a long time. Things seemed to start out well, but as many of you know, harvest became very difficult, and many areas in Western Canada did not even complete the harvest before winter set in. If it wasn't for 3 great weeks in November that allowed the fall fertilizer to be applied, I'm afraid this would be a quite different report. In the area of margins, many departments had much improved margins over last year. Most departments did well and achieved a budget, but this is not the case in all departments, and some have to put a priority back into achieving budgeted margins. To respond to this problem, as a management group, our number 1 priority in our business plan is improved department operations. This includes operational analysis by our new controller, Miles Boyce, on all departments on a period basis. This is where we meet on a monthly basis, or in some cases weekly, and examine each department with detail to determine concerns and corrective actions. Continued emphasis is placed on gross margin improvements and reduction of expenses. And finally, tighter inventory management to achieve higher inventory turns. Headley revisited the events of the past few years. 3 years ago in March, we opened our new food store facility. And 2 years ago, we finalized the purchase of Eagle Agro Custom Application business. So what has been the result of these 2 ventures? The public's reaction has been extremely positive on both, and our customer feedback has been tremendous. Sales have been well beyond what we had hoped for with both ventures, which is extremely encouraging. Our food store business has increased by over 60% in the last 3 years, and our agros have grown by over 40%. Our custom application business alone has more than doubled in sales. In today's competitive business world, Any company would be extremely excited with these numbers. Hedley emphasized that this growth does not occur from just new facilities and equipment. Our people and the relationships they have with our customers is what drives our success. He paid tribute to the many managers who are impacting the co-op's success. The home centers in both Neepawa and Gladstone had a lot quieter year in 2016 due to less building projects within our trading area. Sales and profits were slightly behind budget and down from 2015, which was a record year. The upgrade to the roof in Neepawa was completed in 2015, and in 2016 an exterior upgrade with some new signage was finished. The home centers in both locations have been joined together under one management team. In 2016, Co-op Agro upgraded 5 of their rotogators to new units. Hedley noted that while it was early yet, sales for 2017 look encouraging. And Helen Drysdale's column out of Helen's Kitchen. And today she has kitchen gadgets that make life easier. At the Beautiful Plains Museum, we have a raisin seeder with the original tag attached, made in 1895. I wondered why there was such a gadget, so I did some research. Prior to 1900, and as late as 1920, you could only get raisins with the seeds in them. Before you needed raisins for baking, you soaked the raisins and put them through this device to take out the seeds, as if the ladies didn't have enough work to do. However, their work was made easier by the Universal No. 2 cake mixer, patented in 1896, that we have at the museum as well. The cake mixer is a circular tin that uses 2 beaters made of wire and metal gears, suspended from a metal strip that fits over the tin bowl. A crank handle is turned by hand to mix the batter in the bowl. This tin can be secured to a table by a clamp and screw. It is one of the popular items that the kids visiting the museum take a fancy to and like to try out. I imagine the ladies that used it were not as enthusiastic. By early 1900s, there were many new food products, such as instant coffee, animal crackers, puffed rice, Hershey chocolate bars, canned tuna fish, ginger ale, bleached flour, elbow macaroni, and ice cream cones. And she does have 2 recipes here. One's for a golden spice cake from the White House cookbook, and another is an apple spice cake from Helen's own kitchen. And they're always very good with items and articles and things you have around, so I encourage people to try that if they would like to. I'm sure if you saw those devices, you'd have no idea what they were really used for. And editor Kate Jackman Atkinson's My Perspective column is entitled today, From Small Beginnings. For much of the last year in the Neepawa Press, we have been publishing a series of stories called Where Are They Now? The stories are by Rick Sparling, a local sports historian who has published 2 books about Neepawa's hockey history, The History of Public School Hockey in Neepawa and Amateur Hockey in Neepawa, a scrapbook. For those outside the press's circulation area or who haven't read the articles on www.mywestman.ca, Sparling catches up with the players whose teams were featured in his books to find out what they went on to do with their lives. The teams featured in the books played at different levels, and the players were a variety of ages. Like any local team, they were a mix of true athletes and those just out to have some fun. It's been incredibly interesting to see the diverse lives many of these men and women have gone on to lead over the last 30, 40, 50, or 60 years, all from their beginnings in the small town of Neepawa. A rural upbringing used to be a close to insurmountable wall to climb for those looking for a life beyond the ordinary. In many parts of the world, it still is. In many poor countries, a fractured and underfunded education system and an economy that still relies heavily on manual labor, especially in agriculture, makes it hard for rural students to get the education they need to excel in post-secondary education or advance beyond basic labor jobs. In the past, isolation meant many rural students knew little about the world or the options that lay beyond their doorsteps. As I was pondering the aerospace engineers, pilots, executives, world travelers, and sports stars who had humble beginnings playing on a Neepawa hockey team, I saw another example of this. The Brandon Sun had a story this week about Christopher Pugh, a 28-year-old who grew up in Brandon and completed his undergraduate degree at Brandon University. He is now a PhD candidate attending the University of Waterloo, where he also obtained his master's degree. The work of Pugh and his colleagues was featured on the front page of the Globe and Mail last fall, when they succeeded in beaming an encrypted quantum transmission from the ground to a flying airplane. With the speed of computing increasing, standard encryption techniques are expected to become obsolete in a decade or two as quantum computers become more available. However, messages encrypted using quantum technology are secure in the face of these extremely powerful computers. Brandon isn't exactly rural, but it's far from the big city upbringing people tend to automatically associate with those developing cutting-edge technology. I don't think you'd have to look far to find people who feel their rural upbringing played a key factor in their success, and I think we need to do a better job recognizing the advantages that we have here in rural Manitoba. In 2015, atmospheric scientist Russell Schnell spoke to the graduating class at his alma mater, the University of Alberta. Schnell is a co-Nobel laureate, and his work has taken him around the world. He has published 120 scientific papers, and at that time was a deputy director of the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. He grew up in Castor, Alberta, a town of about 1,000 residents. To the graduating class of the U of A's Camrose campus, Schnell said, "For me, a rural town provided the most incredible place to grow up. A rural upbringing never appeared to me to be an impediment. In fact, it gave me a great advantage," he said, adding that in a small town, a person's reputation is everything, and in that environment he learned valuable skills such as trust and fairness. I don't think that these are unique experiences, and it's not uncommon to hear very successful people who have had rural upbringing credit as one of the factors in their success. Not all rural Manitobans will leave their mark on the greater world, but for those whose goals point in that direction, they're no less likely than someone from London or New York. And I think we have to be reminded of that every once in a while. And Rita Friesen's Homebodies column, entitled, "It Began as a Casual Weekend Conversation." Warning, some individuals may be offended by the content of this column. Assurance, I am in great health. It began as a casual weekend conversation. During the week, I had prepared the order of service for my celebration of graduation from this life to the next. I had chosen the scriptures, the hymns, and prayers for my funeral. As I spoke to my trusted friend about this, I mentioned that now I needed to choose the urn. Let's just say that as a member of the Widows Club, I know how challenging all these decisions can be, and am thinking ahead, wanting to spare my children as much pain as possible. I am trusting that they will be sad enough at my death. The wonder of it was that my friend was ready to do the same thing. So we made an appointment at the local funeral home to go urn shopping. Arriving on time, we were respectfully guided to the display room. We took a few minutes carefully assessing the urns for suitability and personality. Not surprisingly, we were drawn to the same urn. The director quietly mentioned that probably by the time we needed the receptacle, they would no longer be in stock. With laughter, we assured him we were planning to purchase and take our purchase with us. Always the thinker, my friend requested a catalog for perhaps other options. While the director went to obtain one, we took our chosen urn, placed it on the table at the front of the chapel, and sat in the front row, reviewing our choice and getting a sense of what our families will see. After sitting silently a few minutes, I rose and selected another urn and placed it too on the table. The director returned to find us sitting there, respectfully selecting our ashes home. Not surprisingly, my second choice was also my friend's second choice. After perusing the catalog, we stuck with our first choice. Having no plans to have simultaneous services, it matters not that we are twinsies. The choice now being firmly made, the urn rests on a closet shelf in my home. My family is aware of where it is and what it is. I feel really contented that I have taken care of some of the details for my own service, and am confident that the family will, one day, appreciate the care I have taken. It has led to wonderful conversations. When asked what I was doing with my Wednesday afternoon, with a grin I would reply, "Going urn shopping." How do you respond to that? Usually a quick check to see that I was serious, and then an awkward, good luck. Have fun. What? When I told my sister what my friend and I were doing, after that pause, she quietly replied, "I don't think it will catch on as a girls' afternoon out." Life is a series of individual choices. Death is a series of forced decisions, rules, and regulations that can boggle the novice. I am at peace that I have done my part, both in life and in preparing for death. That's a good article. And there is a correction, a story in the April 21st Neepawa banner about the closure of Canadian Blood Services Brandon office had an incorrect date for the final blood donor clinic to be held in Neepawa. The correct date is Tuesday, May the 2nd, from 3:30 to 7:30 p.m. The clinic will be held at the Yellowhead Center. And East meets West in 4-H Exchange. On April 14, Neepawa area 4-H members picked garbage at High Life in support of this summer's exchange program. Just how different are 4-Hers from other parts of Canada? This summer, 4-H area 4-H members will find out as they take part in exchange with members from Amherst, Nova Scotia. On June 29, the 12 East Coast 4-H members will arrive in Manitoba for the first leg of the exchange. While here, they will be paired with a local member, live with them and their families, and spend a week taking in the sights of Manitoba. They will also help out at the annual 4-H Fat Stock Show and Sale, giving them a real Manitoba 4-H experience. From their arrival until their departure on July 8, the group will see attractions which are expected to include the Forks, the Human Rights Museum, Minnedosa Beach, Hollywood Beach, the Carberry Sandhills, and Clear Lake. During their stay in Manitoba, the visiting 4-Hers will not only learn about what it's like to live in Manitoba, they will also learn about local history, ecosystems, and farming practices. Most of the activities have been suggested by members who are also helping organize the excursions. Normally, the exchanges allow for 10 members and 2 chaperones, but this year, the Neepawa group was able to get extra funding in order to have 2 additional members take part. Members come from the Neepawa and Area Beef Club and Neepawa Bells, Bows, and Builders Club. The participating members live in Neepawa, Gladstone, and Langruth. Claire Beaumont, a Neepawa Bells member for about 4 years, said she wanted to take part in the exchange because it seemed fun and she'll meet new people. Josie Pedersen, who is in her 7th year in the Neepawa Beef Club, said that she's excited to show the visitors Spruce Woods Park and also for them to help with 4-H activities. She adds this year's Fat Stock Show and Sale will be special because not only will they have the visiting 4-Hers taking part, non-beef members from Neepawa will also be helping with the activities. There are currently plans for an entry into the team grooming competition, including all of the exchange participants. On July 24, the 12 Neepawa area 4-H members and 2 chaperones will head east. They don't know exactly what their hosts have in store for them, but they are expecting to not only see Nova Scotia, but also New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island. Both Pedersen and Beaumont are expecting things to be different on the East Coast, including the food and dialect. Pedersen that most of their exchange twins come from farms in the country, which will be interesting to see. The majority of the cost of the airline tickets have been supported by the Government of Canada's Canadian Heritage Department's Youth Exchanges Canada. This program supports a Canadian organization in offering reciprocal exchanges for individual youth or groups of youth, generally between the ages of 12 and 17. The group has been fundraising to cover additional costs associated with the trip. Cheryl Beaumont, Claire's mother and one of the organizers, explained, "Our group has been overwhelmed by the financial contributions from the community. They have received honorariums for volunteer work and cash donations, and they will also be selling pay-what-you-pull tickets and grocery vouchers to help offset the costs." While only 12 members will be participating in the exchange, members from all 3 of Neepawa's 4-H clubs, the third being the Neepawa Silver Spurs, will be participating in a 4-H afternoon this May. That day, they will be educating the community about the clubs, the organization itself, and the programs they run to help build important life skills, such as public speaking, leadership, and organization. They will also have information about how to join. As part of this outreach, they are also arranging to speak to local service clubs and businesses about their adventures and the organization itself. Great trip for them, for sure. We will go to the obituaries now. Catherine Holland Kipling, nee Ranke. Memorial Mass will be held on Saturday, May the 6th at 1 p.m. at St. Dominique's Church, 1st Avenue, Neepawa, Manitoba. And Gertrude, Trudy, Emily Breese, nee Harrison. Gertrude, Trudy, Emily Breese, nee Harrison of Neepawa, beloved wife of the late Lloyd Breese, entered into rest on January 23rd, 2017 in her 100th year. A graveside service will be held on Saturday, May the 13th at 2 p.m. at Riverside Cemetery, Neepawa. Donations may be made to Neepawa District Palliative Care Service or Country Meadows Personal Care Home. Frederick Fred Sissons. On Wednesday, April 19, Frederick Fred Sissons, at 90 years of age, passed away peacefully at Fairview Care Home in Brandon, Manitoba. Fred was born on May the 7th, 1926, in Riding Mountain, Manitoba. He was predeceased by his wife, Louise, Fleming and Memel, father, William Sissons, mother, Elizabeth Sissons, nee Kitson, sister Mary, sister Anne Wilson, brother William, Bill, brother Walter, Earl, sister Clara, Sherpanese. Fred is survived by his stepchildren, including stepdaughter Ruth Funk, Fred, granddaughters Laura and Jameen, and 4 great-grandchildren. Stepson Fred Fleming, stepson Norm Sissons, Michelle. Granddaughters Kira, Tavia, and Alina. Up until the last 3 years, Fred spent his entire life in the Riding Mountain, Bernie area. He took over the family farm at a young age and remained there until retirement, when he moved to the small community of Bernie. Fred was an avid outdoorsman who enjoyed hunting and fishing. He was particularly proud of his 2 Master Angler Awards for northern pike and walleye. Fred spent the first 50 years of his life as a bachelor, at which time he married Louise Fleming, nee Mammal, and inherited 3 stepchildren. Unfortunately, 1 year later, tragedy struck when Louise was killed in a car accident. Fred embraced his role as a single parent with 2 young sons still at home. Fred was a caring, loving father, known for his positive but matter-of-fact outlook and dry sense of humor. He will be remembered as a loyal son, brother, uncle, father, and friend who could always be counted on during a time of need. The family would like to thank the staff at Fairview Care Home for their kind and compassionate care during Fred's time there. A celebration of Fred's life will take place during a memorial service on Saturday, July 15, at Riverside Cemetery in Neepawa. Frederick Jacob Fleming. On Saturday, April 22nd, Frederick Jacob Fleming passed away peacefully at Brandon General Hospital with family at his side. Fred was born on April 12, 1962, in Neepawa, Manitoba. He was predeceased by his father, Jacob Fleming, mother Louise Sissons Fleming Memel, and stepfather Fred Sissons. Fred is survived by his sister Ruth Funk, Fred, nieces Laura Potter and Jameen Hofer, Mark, brother Norm Sissons, Michelle, nieces Kira, Tabia, and Alina. Fred grew up in Riding Mountain and spent most of his life living in the Riding Mountain, Kelwood, Bernie area. Fred had a passion for cars from a young age when his family owned Jake's Service in Riding Mountain. Whether it was helping his dad in the garage or later rebuilding or repairing engines, Fred could be found working on, talking about, racing, stock, or smashing, demolition cars. He also enjoyed deer hunting with his stepfather Fred and brother Norm, and fishing with friends and family. Fred always had a soft spot for the children of his friends and family, and in recent years loved to spend time with his young nieces. Fred experienced a lot of personal challenges in his life. First, losing his dad when he was 11 years old, and his mom when he was 15 years old. Later, diabetes led him to spend the last few years as a dialysis patient in Brandon and confined him to a wheelchair. But right until his passing, Fred amazed those around him with his ability to persevere through numerous health challenges. The family would like to thank the nurses and doctors at Brandon General Hospital, and particularly in the Renal Care Center, for their compassionate care and friendship offered to Fred during his time there. A celebration of Fred's life will take place during a memorial service on Saturday, July 15th at Riding Mountain Cemetery in Riding Mountain, Manitoba. And those are the obituaries. And coming up, which is a pretty big deal, is the high school drama. This year it's Beauty and the Beast. And they have a really nice photo of all of them in their costumes, and the cast members, who they are and what they're going to be. And thank you to the supporters of the performance. Performances will take place at the Roxy on Thursday, May 4th, Friday, May 5th, and Saturday, May 6th, and tickets are available at Arts Forward. And if you're like me, I think I got to review that story of Beauty and the Beast just to get it all in my mind, so that when I'm watching it, I know the storyline. excellent. They're always just excellent performances. And Guiding the Next Generation. On April 20th, 13 Sparks and Brownies from Neepawa paid a visit to Country Meadows Personal Care Home, where they visited and played games with the residents. I'm sure they would enjoy that. And Russell speaks to Neepawa crowd. Award-winning Brandon author Craig Russell spoke to an engaged audience on Thursday, April 20, at the Neepawa Library. After reading from his latest novel, Fragment, he shared tips and insights into preparing, writing, and editing a manuscript. In addition to writing novels, Russell has also written a short play and has directed community theater productions in Brandon. And Vimy Connection. As a follow-up to the story in the April 14th Neepawa banner about Neepawa's World War I connection, local military historian Robert Ferguson brought in some additional information of Neepawa and area soldiers who died at the Battle of Vimy Ridge. John Fogan was killed in action on April 9th, 1917. K.W. Heaps was killed in action on April 10th, 1917. William McMartin was killed in action on April the 9th, 1917. And Joseph Willerton was killed in action on April the 9th, 1917. And it's called Club Offers Exciting Opportunity for Kids. Spring is a time for children to enjoy playing outside after a long winter, a time when they can enjoy various sporting and outdoor activities. Now, young people with an adventurous streak can learn how to mountain bike thanks to the Dirt Squirts Kids of Mud program put on by Prairie Mountain Cycling and the Manitoba Cycling Association. Tim Frykota with Prairie Mountain Cycling says that through initiatives like Dirt Squirts Kids of Mud, Prairie Mountain Cycling hopes to promote an active lifestyle in young people. Our members have a passion to foster interest in cycling within the community, especially children and youth, he says. In 2014, with no kids' bike clubs available on this side of the province outside of Winnipeg or Portage, we felt there was a need for a youth cycling program in our area. As a result, we took necessary steps to obtain certification from Manitoba Cycling Association and have successfully delivered the Minnedosa Dirt Squirts Kids of Mud program and have just begun our third season. The program typically runs from mid-April, if the weather has been warm enough, to mid-June. They meet at the River's Edge Bike Park, located near Tanner's Crossing School in Minnedosa, and sometimes on trails located behind the Minnedosa Fairgrounds. The program is open for children ages 5 to 16, and according to Frykota, offers them a chance to experience the excitement of mountain biking. It gets kids on their bikes and learning the basic skills they need to hit the trails safely and with confidence. Developing this lifelong skill provides kids access to the healthy benefits of an activity they can enjoy throughout their lives, he proclaims. The program is set up so that kids can progress into higher cycling levels within Manitoba's athlete development program if they choose, but the main focus is to have fun. Frykota goes on to say that participants in the program have the opportunity to take part in provincial mountain bike races sanctioned by the Manitoba Cycling Association. The group has participated in races in the Brandon Hills and the Birch Ski area south of Portage la Prairie in the past. To take part in the Dirt Squirts Kids of Mud program, each child must have a functional bike. Frykota recommends a mountain bike style and a properly fitted helmet. Registration cost is around $100 and includes insurance. To register, contact Prairie Mountain Cycling at Prairie Mountain Cycling, altogether, @gmail.com. That's a neat event. Kids will enjoy that. And Terriers three-peat as MJHL champs. The Portage Terriers are once again champions of the Manitoba Junior Hockey League after a dramatic 1-0 victory over OCN Blizzard on Wednesday, April 19, before 2,200 fans at Portage's Stride Place. It was the third consecutive Turnbull Cup for the Terriers and seventh championship over the last 10 years. This year's championship was hard-earned, with the Terriers having to battle back from a 2-0 deficit in the best-of-7 championship series against the determined Blizzard, who last won the MJHL in 2003. This is a tremendous feeling, Terriers GM head coach Blake Spiller said in an interview after the game to CFRY Radio. Chappie, Curtis Chapman, was unbelievable. We had some chances, but their goaltender was equally as good. Chase Brakel, who was a member of last year's championship squad, scored the game's lone goal just 1:16 into the first period. It was his seventh of the postseason. From that point on, it was a goaltender's battle, with Curtis Chapman earning his fourth shutout of the postseason. The whole team came together, said Chapman, and it was a great game for everyone. Our defense and forwards were blocking shots and allowing me to see the shots coming my way. This feels amazing. Winning the Turnbull at home is surreal, said Brakel. I remember sitting in the room after the 6-0 loss in Game 2, and Soko, Ryan Sokolowski, looked at me and said, we'll have to win the series in 6. This championship feels sweeter this season, I suppose because we were underdogs coming into the playoffs. There's less pressure on us this season because Steinbach was top dog. Jared Roy, who hails from Portage, admitted winning the championship at home was an unbelievable feeling. This is surreal, said Roy, 18. Playing in front of your hometown, nothing beats that. The OCN, came out hard, but Chappie was unreal. Terrier forward Jeremy Lipsick was named top scorer. Josh Martin was named MVP. OCN goaltender Brett Epp was named player of the game. OCN graduates 8 players. Terriers now advance to the Western Canada Cup, which begins April 29 at Penticton. Terriers captain Riley Thiessen was unable to play Wednesday due to injury, but that didn't prevent him from accepting the Turnbull Cup in the frenzied post-game celebration. Good for them. Excellent. All right. There's a couple of letters to the editor, letters to the community here that are actually should be read. And one is from the Burnie Hospital Auxiliary in Burnie, and it's entitled The End of a Community Group. The final meeting of the Burnie Hospital Auxiliary was held on April 10th, 2017 in the Burnie Community Center. It was decided at the meeting to dissolve the Burnie branch of the Neepawa Area Health Auxiliary. This decision was a sad one for the current members, but a necessary one, since the number of able and active participants living in the area has been steadily declining. Formed on October 1st, 1990, the small group of Burnie women has contributed greatly to the social life of the local community, as well as financially to the local medical community in its 26 years of existence. Many funeral luncheons and auction sale lunches were catered by this group. The array of fundraising activities held over the years is amazing. Craft tables at flea markets, book drives, pierogi sales, ticket sales, canvassing drives, and of course, the annual Burnie Tea, Luncheon, and Bake Sale. Through the efforts of this small group of women, the Burnie Auxiliary has been able to donate over $37,000 to the Neepawa Area Health Auxiliary for use in local health facility projects. This is a very commendable effort for a group numbering approximately 15 members at its largest. The Burnie Hospital Auxiliary women are thankful to the generous support of the Burnie community throughout the years. Without your contributions, these funds would not have been raised. All future donations may be made directly to the Neepawa Area Hospital Auxiliary. I can understand why they're disbanding, but it's pretty hard to keep volunteers. And Waves of Hope Dragon Fashion Show is next month. Waves of Hope is one of the many breast cancer teams from around the world whose collective mission is to raise awareness for early detection of breast cancer and promote activity to gain strength. We provide outreach, information, hope, and support to women in Western Manitoba. Waves of Hope is holding its 15th annual Spring Fashion Show May the 10th in the UCT Pavilion in the Brandon Keystone Center. Waves of Hope team members, children, grand and great-grandchildren, a few spouses and volunteers will be modeling from various venues. Proceeds from show help Waves of Hope raise awareness for early detection of breast cancer and provide hope to men and women after diagnosis. Dragon boating is a great form of exercise for the upper body. Waves of Hope consists of paddle members, steersperson, drummers, as well as support people on shore who help in many ways. Together, members demonstrate the health and fitness benefits, plus support for one another. Members travel from Forest, Onanol, Ethelbert, Dauphin, Neepawa, Erickson, Minnedosa, Sandy Lake, Boulder, Nesbitt, Brandon, and Basswood. The season begins in April with dryland training at Healthy Living Center in Brandon. Once the ice is off Minnedosa Lake, the team can launch their beloved boat, Kindred Spirit, for the season. Practices are Wednesday evening all summer. Come and try sessions are offered for anyone diagnosed with breast cancer who would like to try dragon boating. For more information, contact Kathy at 1-204-728-0764. I always enjoy watching those boats when they get going. I think we're pretty well covered here now. I think we've pretty well finished the banner for this week. Home Hardware is having weekly how-to events, and on May the 3rd they're giving a demonstration on how to frame a wall with a window and door. It'll be 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. and 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Week after that will be how to install a window and door. And I gather there's a lot more to it than just putting it up there and nailing it in. The Kin Club of Neepawa is having a 40th anniversary dinner and dance on Saturday, the May the 6th at the Yellowhead Center. Tickets are $60 each. Silent auction, draw for 1,000 door prizes, and raffle of a gift of flight from WestJet. 2 round-trip flights anywhere WestJet flies. That would be very good. That'd be nice, especially when they fly so many places now. So you can call Denny or Shelley to reserve tables and tickets at 476-3466. And as always, I'd like to remind you that the bingo is Wednesday nights on air, and the proceeds go towards keeping this station going and in the black. So if you'd like to have a fun night, get your tickets and try out bingo. And I think that pretty well covers it for this week. Thank you very much for listening and being here, and we hope to see you next week. Thank you.